everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. Today, my guest is Tim Guin, Executive Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer for USA Truck. Among other things today, I hope to bring awareness to the importance of truck drivers and the sacrifices they make for us. I also hope you'll be inspired once you hear Tim's personal story of success and perseverance. Tim, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Nikki. I'm going to call you Nikki if that's okay, because for those folks that don't know, I've known you for a long time, and Nicole is it's hard to say that. So if you're okay, I'm going to call you Nikki.
Please do. And that's what I was going to share with my audience next, is that you're a friend. You're one of my husband's very best friends. We all went to Winthrop University together. And so for this reason and so many more, this conversation is extremely special to me. So again, I want to thank you for joining me today. Truckers are heroes. I want you to explain why people should be thankful for our truckers.
Well, during COVID, I think people started to recognize when you walk into a store and you see empty shelves, the impact of drivers. And I tell people, hey, you're not going to find a more patriotic, hardworking, God-fearing American than you're going to find in the trucking industry. And, there's a few out there, just like in every industry, they'll give you a bad name or make you look bad on the news. Or if you look at the DOT collisions of trucks versus cars, it's drastically different, very few. But when a truck has an accident, when it weighs 80,000 pounds, it's typically horrific. In most cases, when I'm talking about big DOT accidents, I'm not talking about fender benders and things like that, but truckers are safe, and it's a hard job. And my dad was a truck driver, and I remember how what I'm explaining to you is what I saw in him. He was a Navy veteran, and he had a couple of trucks, and he worked for a steel company here in Greenville, and at summers I would go on trips with him, and I saw firsthand that it was a really tough living. But in those days, there was Smokey and the Bandit, and Rolling On was a show. Probably some of your older listeners, Rolling On was a series, and then BJ and the Bear.
Yes.
Truck driver BJ, and and I think back in the CB radio, you remember the T-shirts that said Breaker 19 or whatever, and people had a hand up. Most people in your neighborhood had a CB radio. In those days, we didn't have cell phones, so people thought it was cool that you could talk to someone without being at home and being on a landline. But all those things, truckers were cool, and truckers made a lot of money back in the 80s. But what we found out over time, as our economy grew and the need for truck drivers and the industry itself, the driver pay did not keep pace with other jobs in the U.S. And so we had less truck drivers, less glamorous, harder work. People were, wanting to go to college and get a desk job. I think about myself. My dad used to say, "Hey, let's get you to college, and then if you want to be in this business, you can, but in a different light." And I'm just grateful for what I learned from him. But it's not a glamorous job. It's very difficult, and there's a lot of sacrifice. Health, when you think about my health perspective. You're not going to a gym every day, especially if you're an over the road long haul driver. You're out sometimes for a week at a time or 3 days at a time. And sometimes depending on where you run and what you want to do, drivers are out 10 to 14 days at a time. So not a lot of people are interested in that.
We become a society of, we want it right then. And these men and women are out there on the roads making the sacrifice so that they can serve us. So we owe them a lot. And they deserve to make good money for what they do. And I know that has changed in the industry as well, which is wonderful. Talk about the history of USA Truck. It's impressive.
It is. So Robert Powell was one of our founders. He was a Navy airman, and he had been in the trucking business and less than truckload business in Arkansas. Him and a group of management wanted to start their own truckload company, which the difference between less than truckload and truckload is a full truckload. And so your LTL companies are the ones that do more of the local deliveries, and smaller packages or a pallet. Truckload companies typically pick up freight from a manufacturer that fills the full truck and takes it to a distribution center and it's full truckload. So they saw an opportunity after deregulation in the 80s to start a trucking company. And deregulation, if you're not familiar with it, trucking used to be heavily regulated. You had to buy authority for each state to run in, and it was very difficult to get. So when in the 80s, when deregulation came about, it created opportunities for folks in this truckload industry to go out and start this business model. And it worked very well for USA. Bob Powell, who was one of our founders, wanted to use the star and bar logo because that was what was on his airplane. And so he contacted officials within the government and didn't get a whole lot of response. So he kind of took matters into his own hands and checked to see if it was trademarked. And lo and behold, the star and bar was not trademarked. So Bob went about the process of trademarking it. So we actually own the trademark of any star and bar that you see out there. Uh-huh. He gave, obviously, the government can use it any way they want to use it, obviously, but we own it, and it's a great brand. Over 20% of our drivers are veterans. They're attracted to that.
What makes USA Truck different from the other trucking companies?
I tell people that the brand is only as good as its people, and it doesn't matter if it's USA Truck or Coca-Cola. It's the people that make the brand, and if you have the right culture, a culture of accountability, a culture of growth, if you have vision and values and mission statements and things that are important for people to identify with, you attract people to that brand, and you attract quality people to that brand that want to be connected with those types of values. I can tell you the number one reason that I came to USA for almost 5 years ago was I looked up the values, and people underestimate that. I certainly believe that you have to have a belief system, and we tell our team, hey, believe in something bigger than yourself, because we know if you serve others and you put in more than you take out, then you're going to feel better about yourself and your value as a person. Yes. So that attracts people to our organization.
I can feel it just from what you say, that those people that work alongside of you take pride in being with USA Truck and are thankful that you have those goals, those values, that mission to serve others, because we all know what you put out is what you get back. And when you are in service to others, your organization will thrive because everybody's heart is the same. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's exactly what you're hearing. We didn't have that 4.5 years ago, and now people believe. They believe in something bigger than themselves. And you're talking about a company that was valued probably somewhere in the $100 million range that today is valued, $400 million plus. Right. And it's not because of me or other leaders in the organization. It's because the people believed, and they believed in what we were putting in as a mission and vision and a value for the organization, that is something they wanted to do a good job, and they came to work for all those other things other than just looking at themselves, at how can I contribute. And when everybody contributes, and I tell our team as we progress, and we all should continue to learn as much as we can every day. Nobody has all the answers, but if we all just get 10% better every year, think about the organization, what'll happen. If every single person gets better, right, then the organization gets better as a whole.
Well, and the organization isn't just the higher ups, it's the men and the women in the trucks as well. It's a collaborative effort, and everyone wins in that situation, and you feel good about what you're doing. And I think in our world today, we should want to feel good about what we're doing. To me, that makes the difference.
Absolutely. I see that, outside of our business here at USA, every time I see someone going down the road with a flag flying or off their boat or their dock or whatever, I always think, this is that person is for something bigger than them. And I can guarantee you that everybody at USA, with that star and bar being here, flags are flying.
Wonderful. What is the one thing that you want people to know about USA Truck?
It's the serving others piece that we just talked about. And we're not in the trucking business. We're in the people business. We're in the service business. Trucking is how we do it, but we're actually in the service business. And go deliver some freight safely and on time. We say that after most every meeting because we want to protect and serve the people around us by delivering products, but we also want to keep them safe. And so for me, if I had to sum it up in one word at USA, it's serving others.
Serving others. And what about truckers in general and your industry? What's the most important thing that my audience should take away about that?
Trucking changes lives. It changed my life personally. I realized that if I was ever going to be successful in life, that I had to put the work in. And I learned that from my dad. And I saw him work hard. And that to me is the hardworking servant mentality. Is something that people don't see.
What is the biggest crisis facing your industry right now?
Well, it's drivers. There's not enough of them. When you think about a couple of administrations ago, everybody said that everyone should go to college, and it's just not the case. I mean, I was borderline whether I was going to go to college or not. I didn't have the money, but it worked out with scholarships and Pell Grants and things that I was able to take advantage of. But not everybody needs to go to college, and it's not for everybody. So we had this idea. So you had this influx of college students because everybody thought if I can go to college, I can get out and I'll have me an executive job as soon as I get out. And now these young folks are finding out that you actually have to work your way up, just because you have a degree, because there's so many degrees out there. So where does that leave the blue collar worker, and where does that leave the truck driver? And it is not it's not a glamorous job, but it pays $100,000.
I was going to say, money's there. You're right.
That's right. And, if you do it right, you make $100,000, and you can be home more often than you were a few years ago. But to answer your question, it's a tough sell. Not everybody's. When you think about your kids, I want kids to grow up to be a truck driver. People say that, right?
Right.
But people find out that if you get in it and you do a great job, it's rewarding. I mean, we are seeing more female drivers in our industry than we ever have. There's a Women in Trucking Association out there. Our company is more diverse than any other industry. To learn how to drive a truck, it typically takes about 12 weeks. And that seems like a long time, but when you've got an 80,000 pound, basically a weapon out there on the highway, that you have to make sure that folks really know how to handle every situation possible. But 12 weeks versus 4-year degree.
Sure.
And I can guarantee you
$100,000. I'm in awe of people that can drive a truck. I mean, gracious, I can't even get in an F-150 and not feel overwhelmed. But get behind an 80,000 pound vehicle, that's a lot. You should get proper training and you should get paid. So we need to start changing the mindset of people out in the world and those coming along in their schooling to say, hey, I don't have to go this route. I can go this route, and people be proud of it.
Absolutely. So we have people who retire early from teaching school, firemen, police officers, people getting in these trucks now. And the other thing that we have against us is the minimum driving age for interstate transportation is 23, and it has been that way now. We're starting to see that change with some new states and some new laws that are allowing some testing going on there. But even at 21, there's a 3-year gap between high school. And so typically what happens is folks in high school don't get trained on it. It's not in the vocational center. They go directly into a vocation. They go do something. This is typically a second career or maybe a third career for a lot of them. And they've already maybe gotten married or developed a certain lifestyle that says, hey, I'm going to be away from home, and it's hard. And It's hard to transition into that. It's not just driving the truck, but
it's the lifestyle.
It's the lifestyle, and being able to be mature enough to manage that lifestyle. when you have that much freedom.
That's tough. That's not always easy for everyone to do. A lot of discipline needed, I'm sure, for that.
Yes. So those are the challenges that we have. But the opportunity is tremendous.
Challenges, but opportunities are there. So what's the future of the industry? What's on the horizon?
So I'm just going to address, electric trucks. We are doing that. It's just like the cars. There's lots of challenges with electric trucks, the distance, the charging, all those things, especially for a truck that size. When you're talking about an 1,000-pound vehicle, you're talking about 300-mile radius versus a car's longer. And then being able to have the infrastructure out there is not ready for that. But if you have it in the right application around a regional hub, it works pretty well. We've seen it work with some of our other trucking competitors. We're doing it. We're doing it in West Memphis, Arkansas. And so the other thing is autonomous trucks. You hear lots of people talk about autonomous. I think this is Tim Guin's opinion, but you don't ever see an airplane fly by itself, although it does fly itself. There's always a pilot in the aircraft because the size of the aircraft and the risk. Same for trucking. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a driver, but a different kind of driver with a different type of skill set. But I've already been in an autonomous truck, and it's pretty incredible. And the technology's there; it's here, and I've seen it firsthand, and I see how it works, and it's pretty amazing. So you're going to have a different type of driver in the cab of that truck. And then eventually you may see platooning, or you'll have one driver and two trucks controlling both trucks.
Wow.
So we think that will solve a problem. But hey, I'm 57 years old. I might be 70 something before this really happens that way, but maybe not. Maybe
not.
It just depends on infrastructure. When you think about autonomous vehicles, it's really an interstate type thing. Somebody still has to drive the truck into the distribution center and get the freight unloaded. You can't do that autonomously. So we're all trying to work through that, but it's going to be a driver autonomous type relationship in the future.
Well, that's what I hear is the future is always changing because our technology is constantly changing, and what we can do far exceeds anything that we ever dreamed about 20 years ago. And so that will continue to be the case moving forward as well. But I like the fact that people are always needed,
Yes.
God put us here for a reason, right?
Yeah. The technology is amazing, but people are needed. Our trucks today have collision avoidance, lane departure, all the things you have in your car, all the computer stuff. Our drivers all have pads in their trucks, whether it's mostly Samsung, and then they have apps that they can get information out of that they couldn't get information from before about the truck, about their dispatch and load at their trip and fuel and those things. But you still have to have human intervention for all of those things. Because think about this. Think about a situation where you got an 80,000-pound truck with hazardous materials running by itself. That the technology could be hacked. Yeah. That's a tough deal. And so that's why I think that you will have a driver or someone controlling that, where that can be shut down, or something malfunctions. If the system crashes or there's an issue, it can be handled immediately.
I agree. This is so interesting. I'm really enjoying this conversation. We could talk all day about what's on the horizon and new technology and all of that. But I do know that this is a topic that's near and dear to your heart, and that's America's truckers. Tell me about that.
Yeah, americastrucker.org. So in harmony of what we talked about earlier, we own a company down in Georgia called, the name of the company is Davis Transfer. And we purchased them 4 years ago. And, we have this USAT Capacity Solutions brand, which is our supply chain logistics solution. And then we have the white USA truck that a lot of you have seen going down the road. And then we have this Davis brand. And we said, how can we connect the company? So our CEO, James Reed, said, hey, came to me and said, hey, let's get a tagline for our brand. And because I have responsibility for all commercial and marketing, my marketing team and I got together and we said, what would be a great tagline? So we went through all these different gyrations of taglines and looked up stuff on the internet. And it really came back after many, many conversations that what are we really?
Yeah.
We are an American, we are Americans, red, white, and blue. And these drivers, they love that. And we were shocked to find that American trucker was copyright trademarked, but America's trucker was not. So we took care of that, and in the process through copywriting that, and but we said, where can we take this? And so when you think about all the things you and I've talked about this morning, is that, gosh, what is it? What does it really mean to be associated with drivers, and how can we support these patriotic, God-fearing, hardworking Americans? And this was all happened during COVID. And we met Joe Stam, which you interviewed with me, and he had this great trucker song. And we realized people really liked that. And just in a few, a week or so, he had over 100,000 views of the song and lots of great feedback. And we said, okay, we're just going to go forward with this America's Trucker brand. And as a tagline, we created a website, and you can go to the website, and every piece of merchandise that we sell, 10% of the proceeds goes to a veteran-related or trucking-related charity that we choose. And this past year, it was Folds of Honor. Our mission is to improve the image of drivers in our industry, things that you and I were talking about, giving them quality choices to shop online for things that are appropriate and specific to trucking. So right now it's hats and shirts and mugs and things that you would find on a typical website. And we created this brand. So the A is, I actually have it right here. I'm going to
good. I was thinking you might have one close by.
Yes. So the A is an intersection, as you can see.
Yes.
It's an offer, and that's a road. And then the T is just an intersection. So, so we created this because it's a trucking brand that we wanted to give back, and we wanted to improve. So we're private label some shirts and some things, and we're just getting started. We're going to market this. We already have, and we're going to be in some truck stops, and we're going to take it a little bit further with convenience stores and some Buc-ee's and some of those folks we're going to go after. But we're going to sell belts for truckers with a branded AT logo in them, boots with a brand AT brand, pants, the Dickie style pants that you see drivers wear, blue jeans. Yeah. We're going to private label things. We have jackets. We have pullovers right now, really good looking pullover on the store, on the website. And all of this, we raise money. We did the Folds of Honor this year, got off our first charity. We raised $167,000 for Folds of Honor, which is in a one-day golf tournament with our generous suppliers. Came in for one day and donated. And so we were able to fund 6 scholarships. Folds of Honor, if you're not familiar with them, you can go to their website and look and see that they provide scholarships for the children of disabled or fallen veterans. And we were able to help this year with 6 scholarships. So we're going to continue with that, americastrucker.org. We're going to put the stuff in the store. We hope that people buy it. We hope drivers buy it. We hope that families buy it, and other people. You would not believe how many requests I have for these America's Trucker hats, especially these friends of my children who are younger generation. They love it. It says America's Trucker on it. But and the other thing is it's quality stuff. We said we don't want to put our brand on things that are cheap. So we've got some really good quality outerwear and apparel for anybody who's interested. And it goes to a great cause.
Yes, it goes to a great cause. It's patriotic. You feel good making the purchase, knowing that you are making a difference. And it's America. We love America. Listen, is there anything else you want to talk about as far as USA Truck before it's time to transition into your personal story? So much more to get to.
No, I could talk all day about it. So I just want to follow your lead there. So if there's any other questions, we'll come back to it. But no, I'm good.
That concludes part 1 of my Conversations with Nicole featuring Tim Guin. Coming up in part 2, you'll hear his personal story. It is one of perseverance and success and his faith in God. Stay tuned for that coming up on Conversations with Nicole.